percentage or have it from the field or not. It was funded. And it's they really increase it, there's more.
The green pond. Yeah. That's great.
Yes. Call to order the Cordova School District General Meeting for March 19th. Please stand for flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
here.
Emma Merritt. Pete Hefner.
Here.
Pete Trudeau.
Here.
Melanie Cole.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the March 19th, 2026 regular meeting agenda as presented.
I will second it.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Discussion. Okay, no discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Pete Trudeau.
Yes.
Pete Hefner.
Yes.
Emma Merritt.
Yes.
And Cruton.
Yes. Audience comments. All right. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented in the board packet.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion.
And did you, just you were clear on that, quick, excellent, just so you check in.
Thank you.
All right, roll call vote.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Kate Trudeau.
Yes.
Pete Hefner.
Yes.
Emma Merritt.
Yes.
And Cruton.
Yes. Oh man, what page are we on?
44.
And time for reports. Student council not present. Cordova Education Association.
Good evening. I'll start out with the both building. Teachers from both buildings are grateful for the opportunity to attend ASTE, our state's Educational Technology Conference. Too. The focus of the conference is always technology solutions to help teachers do what they do. This year, the focus was on AI. There were highlights on strategies to teach students with the AI, to teach students how to use AI, and tools to efficiently use AI in our educational practice. This was a very helpful conference, providing tools and techniques to put into immediate practice. At Mount Eccles, students are working hard and playing hard as they finish the third quarter. The beautiful weather is giving them opportunities to learn outside as well as inside. As examples, before the break, the third graders turned the grassy field into a scale model of the solar system. It was a great way to understand how close and far our neighbor planets are to us. The second graders went out to learn about hydroponics at Kicker Room Blooms. Fourth grade got involved in the Iditarod from afar, learning about mushers, the course, and cheering their musher on. Also, the majority of our elementary schools took a walk down to the North Star Theater and enjoyed a student performance directed by Marita Kleisler. And right now, the ski hill has nothing on our school playground. The kids are loving the sunshine and all the things they can do in deep snow. At CHS, the students finished strong in the third quarter. Both boys and girls basketball teams got to compete at the state level. The cheerleaders were spreading school spirit beyond the games, making and taking pins, giving away at the big end of season tournaments. 23 students are on their way to Hawaii, and 24 will be heading to New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. for the close-up experience starting next week. We're excited for so many students to have the opportunity to learn through these experiences and gain an understanding of and from perspectives, exploring states and cities so different. Pretty cool outside school all over the world, right? Pretty neat. Any questions?
I just wanted to comment that when you were listing off all those cool things that the elementary school was doing, like the field trips and everything. I think that's just really great, adding those like relevancy type experiences. Like they're gonna remember that for
Right.
a long time.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say that that's awesome and encourage
Yeah.
like that those like types of activities. For all of you. So
Thank you.
thank you for doing that. I'm sure it's a lot more work and it takes a lot of creativity, but yeah, that's great. So thank you.
I can appreciate that report. It's fun to hear what exciting things are going on. Thanks for doing that.
We're over classified building.
Good evening, sorry. Hi, I'm Neva Nolan. I represent the CEG classified employees group of the new union. So our fourth quarter here in the building has come to us in fits and starts, but we're working really hard to get employees and kids back in the building and going strong. And we did get off to a really good start this week. Our classified staff, continues to help out where needed, even when there's not enough subs or what have you. So we're working hard to keep that going. We have bargaining tomorrow for the third official meeting. And our CEG group will have, it's called early enrollment. So we'll be starting that up April 1st. So any comments or questions? Basic. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. See you tomorrow. City council, no one here from city council. We will move on to committee reports. ASB speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention again about the advocacy aspect of being a board member. And AASB does send out these call to action emails, and there was some testimony on the operating budget there. I was gonna call in, I was able to listen in on some of the comments that were made. And I did send a letter in. And so that's the HB House Bill 374 that Alex was mentioning by him shoot and Andy Story, increasing to 630. And one of the things that's, I mean, last year was the 680, but it was actually only $20 more than the prior year. So I was gonna say they were pretty happy with themselves, but we're seeing such detriment to the schools across the state. And so then interestingly enough, and I don't know, Alex, if you saw Senate Bill 277 that came out, and I loved it. The BSA increase is $124.56. And then they evidently calculated that on a 1.9 CPI index increase in Anchorage, but it was actually a 2.1% increase. So I don't even know where they're coming up with their numbers these days. Even the 630 number that came out last year was with Jason Ruffridge, and that was what Kenai said they needed. So it's kind of interesting. And then a real fascinating aspect of 277 is that they want to give, and this bothers me, of course, everything does, but they want to give $450 to each K-6 student who demonstrates reading proficiency or improvement. And I'm like, well, if you're doing well, you get a bonus, but if you're not doing well, you get penalized. And it's like, anyway, so it is kind of interesting. So there's, now, with another catastrophe similar to the Ukraine oil crisis, And when the state's increase in revenue of $3.8 billion, when our budget is 5 billion with a $2 billion hole in it, they handed out $2.8 billion in permanent dividend fund. So it'll be fascinating to see what this increase of, I think they were saying some $500 or $600 million in oil revenues coming, what they will do with that, if they'll just hand it out in the PFD. Hopefully they won't do that again, but will actually do something to serve Alaskans as we've been cutting services for Alaskans with a cut in 2014 of $2 billion yearly from oil corporations. Kind of keep an eye on those emails that are coming in. There's a texting feature that I found that you can put a bill number in and it'll send you messages when the hearings are coming up, depending on how nerdy you are. Yeah, just kind of, it's, in the legislature, interestingly enough, you can write emails, testify publicly, and they say it helps, so anything that we can do, being proactive at this point. I'd sort of wish at times our fly-in would be held later in the year when things are actually moving, but ASB is also having a spring academy. The second day is on tribal consultation. And I think our first day is going to be talking with different districts about some of their JADA dashboards.
Is this, the 6:30, is that, a one time or is that?
That's proposed to be added to the base student
Also
allocation.
be permanent.
To bring it up to 7290 from the 666.
And I would reiterate, Pete said that, if you send, even if you send an email and it's nice and short, a lot of times they just tally to see how much support they're getting from the emails. And I've done it a few times, and I'm actually now, they're contacting me to find out how I feel about things based on the fact that I'd sent emails, so it's worth doing. Next, junior, senior eyesight counseling.
I don't think we had one.
No,
Our minister can include, if we did, he'll do it in his report. I did not attend.
elementary site council, oh, sorry.
And I think they did have an elementary site council and I didn't go. Kate did.
I
and
did.
that's all.
Okay, great.
It was just me and Don. So we didn't really discuss anything except the format of site councils and how we can try and entice more people to come to site council.
Thank you. Safety and facilities?
Yeah, we had a meeting on the 24th of February. We looked at summer facility use request, the various summer groups and various community groups, looking at the National Guard teams coming June 1st to August 5th, looked at the music camp, volleyball camp. There was a safety walk through the school buildings. And they were speaking about the general spring projects. And Chris did a very nice job with the staff CPR or CPR training. Just appreciate that you did that, Chris, for the staff. And a couple of the other things we're looking at CHF, the storage needs and that are around here. We also spoke about the building outside that's seen better days.
Thank you. Curriculum. We did not have a curriculum meeting. Nope. And I don't think we're going to have one this year yet.
I think we'll have one on either the 2nd or 5th of May,
Okay.
whichever that Tuesday is that week. We have some additional consideration for some correspondence school materials. So I'll be putting out a public notice to provide any comments or feedback on those particular resources and collect those up and have them ready for the committee at that time.
Okay, thank you. Policy committee, Pete?
Yeah, we met on February 10th. Those policies are in our board packet. Our next meeting is next week, the 24th. We're gonna start looking at the 2000s. And so we have a policy review cycle. Every 3 years, we go through the whole policy manual. Alex developed an excellent AR. And we have administrators, teachers, community members, and board members that sit on that. And so we're starting our 2000s to look through those. At the first half of the 2000s at the next meeting.
Thank you. Negotiation?
Yeah, our next meeting is on the third or tomorrow. We're having excellent discussions with the classified employee group. It's tickled they set up a union to advocate for themselves.
And I really, being on that too, really appreciate the fact that everyone's working together to make this thing work out the best that it can, and you know, that's what's nice about having a small community, because you're negotiating with your neighbor. So. You can't hide after the meeting. All right, thank you very much. So we will move on to administrative reports. Activity director. Seth.
We're kind of in wrap up mode for activities. We still have track going on that just started, but on the activity side, we're kind of wrapping up things and looking towards next year. Any questions for me?
So wrestling is.
That's in October.
That's October, that's right, I gotta get that straight here. And tell me what track looks like. Good, is this the first track?
It's fairly new. We did it last year. Lance Westing runs that, and he brought it in. I think it was last year. He might have done some maybe something the year before, but it was kind of official last year of having kids and being able to they fundraised quite a bit to be able to travel. I think on one trip last year, but I was just thinking today as I was leaving, I was like, oh, I haven't received. I don't know who's necessarily on the team, but I did poke my head into the gym, and I was looking at maybe 20 kids. So they're in there, and they're starting out.
Junior high and.
A lot of junior hires is what I saw, but it's junior high and high school. And they fortunately for me, Mr. Westing is very organized, and he has everything kind of really set up. And so there's they've been fundraising a ton, and they have a trip or two. I think unfortunately one of their trips that's regional trips for high school is the same weekend as graduation. So they're seeing how many high schoolers they have for that, if they're gonna do it or not, but they hope so.
So, the other question I have is that we can't compete here, correct? We can't have teams come here. We have no track. As a retired discus thrower, there's no place to do that. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a track, obviously, but it is track and field. And so, I mean, I haven't really thought too much about bringing anybody in, as it's kind of hard enough as is, but for any other sport. But I mean, we do have that field down there, and maybe that's in the future of.
I'm a retired pole vaulter.
Holy
We
cow.
need to get some
Yeah.
javelin throwing
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't know a ton about it. I mean, I just know what Mr. Westing is kind of brought forth, and we're like, yeah, if we got, if we have participation, we want to look at it, anything if the kids are interested. And then yeah, again, I looked in there, it's like 20-something kids, so it's like, it's working so far. But this is maybe practice 3. So they're just getting started.
Do they know who they're gonna compete, or are they gonna go to multi team? Oh, you don't know.
I
That's fair, that's
need to
fair.
look into it more. That's a good question, because fairly new at the track and field. I don't know I know we're in the region that Sioux Valley is in, because that's where it's being held. Regional's being held, but I don't really know who else we're going against off the top of my head. But yeah, kind of exciting though.
Yeah.
It does end like May 30th. So it's kind of a weird time of the year, but it makes sense, I guess, for the weather. Not our weather, but other people's weather maybe.
So as Pete suggested, pole vault, and I said disc and shuffle and all that. Right now, we're probably really emphasizing the running.
Yeah, that's it's really as it was last year. I don't know what Mr. Westling's plans are, but I know it's somewhat of an extension of cross country.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think last year though, didn't a couple kids do really well in the, like, the long jump?
Oh, maybe
I thought a couple kids did really well considering that we don't really, I mean, it was the first year.
yeah. Yeah, the timing of it is I'm like, probably have done a salmon opener or two by the time they're doing it, so I kind of lose track of how we're gonna do it. But yeah, it's exciting again. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun new thing that we're doing.
We look forward to hearing more about that. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was just curious, how's the AD meetings going with Region Two? Are you able to battle it out and get folks coming and how are the regionals? Are we following a schedule like they used to set up, for regional competitions? It used to be another, each team would have an opportunity to have folks come to their town for
Yeah,
regionals.
yeah. It does depend upon the region and what bylaws they've implemented. As an example, for wrestling, we were in a region, I've probably told this over the years, but we were in a region where we were the only non-road school in the region, and they 9-1 vote. I was the only one that voted opposed, that they don't have to come to a non-road community. And so they voted to basically isolated us out, said that we don't have to come to Cordova for regionals. So I did just work the last year or two with Billy Strickland and moved regions because of that. So we can hold it in 2030, I think, or 2029, we can have wrestling regions here. But when it comes to volleyball and basketball, and really all of them, there is a list that we're running, going down where we should get that opportunity. So an example, we did just hold regionals 2 years ago for volleyball, but the way it's going with not as many participants in our region for some of these, it's coming up upon us really quickly, as in Nanilchik is next on the list and they don't know if they can do it or not. And so we're next again. There's only really a couple of us that are able to. So I'm waiting on word from Nanilchik, but we might be holding regionals here for volleyball, hopefully this year.
Oh, nice. Is there is there a way to appeal to us, board of directors, when a region throws something that to me is not equitable or is not fair to other districts? I mean, I was sitting on the ASA board and we made teams go to Galena.
Right.
They were saying, well, we'll just forfeit the games.
Yeah, which I think is potentially getting harder and harder with the way the budgets are in schools. Being here for the last 5 years, from day one to now, trying to get teams to come is just, like I've said many times, it's just harder and harder because of no one has the money they once had, and it's so. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of didn't want to. If a team or they create bylaws like that, then I don't know, just moved. And honestly, Billy Strickland was a big part of, like, how do we, where do you want to go? How maybe they'll take you. We want you to have regionals and being supportive and that type of stuff. And along with that, with like our realignment in basketball we had recently, like he's in support of the small communities to get us opportunities. But yeah.
Questions?
No.
Okay,
Good.
good, thank you.
Appreciate it.
So I see Don's on here, Don's report is provided. Any questions for Don probably could be posed to Alex and if they can to her. Anybody has any questions about Don's report?
Well, the map data was in there, so I was hoping we could discuss that.
Yeah, she had actually texted me and asked if she could report that and talk about that next month.
Yeah, one thing that I really like the, graphs on page 56. Because I'm guessing that's beginning of year, middle of year,
Mhm.
and it compared it, so, I mean, that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for overall numbers and growth. But it looks like it's composite, so I think it's math and reading, and if they have that like split out. I think that would be helpful. And what I'm looking for as well. I mean, I'm hearing third grade reading, but I think we want more than third grade reading. So kind of like where are we at, where we want to be. And then how the grant is working out and how is that supplementing, or is it, there is some additional, uh, visual, like, what are those called? Infographics. Later on in her report about the tutoring, and I'm guessing that's the online tutoring that was part of that grant, which I was like pretty skeptical about, because I just thought of little kids and online tutoring. That sounded ineffective to me as a parent of a couple little kids, but it looks like it's effective. I'm not quite sure. So I just wanted to follow up on the grant.
Yeah, for sure, you're right. So that tutoring, the BOY, the beginning of the year, and then the MOY, middle of the year, I mean, I think we can see some pretty good growth, in terms of looking at that initial, how many students were below or not, kind of not meeting the benchmark until mid-year. So we're real hopeful in seeing that trend continue on through the end of the year. And again, that's for students who are specifically getting that additional tutoring online.
Those graphs.
Yeah. The boy and Moy graph.
I guess too, maybe she's gonna talk about this later. It did look like that comparative one on 56. It looked like those numbers were better than the ones that I was looking at. That were separated out, math and reading, fall and winter. But then there was like percentages, and so I'm like, I know there's data behind it, but they didn't look like at first brush to me that they were like exactly tracking. So maybe she can explain.
Yeah, we'll do. And on next month's board calendar was the month in which we were going to talk about data, kind of have a bigger data presentation
Cool.
and talk about. So we'll be sure to include that as well. And
Yeah.
Is that tutoring, was that grant based? And then how many years is that for?
it's part of the CLSD grant.
Right.
So that's was it the $350,000 for 5 years?
Okay,
Yeah, each year for 5 years.
nice.
At least at this moment, that's what we're hearing. We'll see.
And this
Lonnie?
tutoring is done during class or
Mhm.
when are it's, okay.
Yeah, during intervention times.
Okay.
Interventions of things, so kids aren't necessarily being pulled out of music or gym or
Mhm.
anything like that. Or it could be for some students happening during their reading instruction,
Mhm,
right? So they get a little bit of the direct instruction in the classroom for the tier 1 sort of material, and then get pulled out for some additional support during the time.
Kate? Kate, do you have a question?
No questions.
Okay. I spent half my time in this packet trying to figure out if we were comparing boys to boys. I've never heard that term before. No, it's really confusing.
Mothers of the year.
Oh, yeah, I just know. Okay, next, there's four.
Good evening. So attendance wise, we're still hanging in that high 80s, low 90s. And attendance has stayed about the same. Again, very few office referrals. Our MAP progress data came in, we completed in January. showed general uptrends. We saw better growth in the 7th and 9th grade, and some static and downward numbers in the 8th grade, but that's not surprising based upon where they started. If you look at the starting in the 29th percentile and moving in the 50th, it's a bit of a difference. Ice Worm, we did the talent show with our cheerleaders this year, and it was a great event. We had I think about 9 acts, ranged from students to the community members to the Coast Guard. We also did team time this year, or last month. Students worked within their team time classes to build bridges to see whose bridge could support the most stuff from the room. A lot of collaboration again, and really working on those team building skills there. Our high school robotics team made it to the state tournament, and did win the region for the engagement piece. Cheer team placed first at the Valdez Elks tournament for the 2nd time in a row, so we're real proud of them. And of course, the high school girls basketball team took 2nd at that tournament. We also held our high school our junior high volleyball games here in February, and then we had homecoming with Nanana. And we did not do a site council because the dates came so close to break, and I was advised that no one's going to come. So we're gonna do it next week. I believe it's the 24th we're scheduled for. Might be the 26th. What questions do you have?
I had one on your report. You talked about the strategy, the interventions, and sorry, your sentence was, we're evaluating the strategy because it's working. Okay, wait, CHS will continue with a reading intervention forward strategy as the numbers show the strategy to be generally effective.
So
What are you talking about? 'Cause I-
So we've got a multi-piece strategy for reading intervention. 7th grade is receiving intervention in the classroom proper. 8th grade is receiving a pull-out intervention, and then both 8th grade and 9th grade are also getting intervention on Fridays. So they're all a little bit different per grade, but they seem to be we seem to be seeing growth in most areas. And I think it makes sense to continue the strategy we have.
And these were the some of the things that we incorporated with that grant, right?
So that we purchased HT Word and vocabulary, so we're using those 2 pieces with the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. We also put Laura Bowman in as about a 0.5 reading interventionist, and she's working with our she's working with 8th graders, but then also she's working with some high school students who struggle the most.
Okay.
Yep.
And so both of those are part of the grant.
They are.
Yeah, awesome.
Yep. So they're protected at least for a couple of years.
I just wanted to share that I just know some junior high and 9th graders that I meet with a lot, and we often do reading, and I've noticed a huge amount of growth in some of their reading.
That's great.
And for the last 4 or 5 years I've known them and we've read, and so I knew what we were doing at the high school, and so I kind of asked some questions about it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pass that on, that it was very noticeable.
Well, thanks for the feedback, and I'll pass it along to our teachers. So, sometimes teachers see the kids day to day, and sometimes it's hard to see the growth day to day, right? It's more obvious when you've got spans of time between them. So I'll pass that along.
It was extremely never, it was shocking, and
Good.
it was really just in the last couple months. So.
Good,
Mhm.
good. And that's good feedback for me too, because we're really using all of these products off label. The companies will tell you you've got to do it 5 days a week for a certain amount of time, and we've tailored it to fit our schedule, because we don't have the capacity to have, otherwise we miss our content. So I'm glad that we've picked out the right pieces.
Yeah. I guess
But
the data as to what I always kind of asking about for you. You had mentioned if 9th grade is really where you want to make sure that everyone, by the time they're in 9th grade, they are at the level that they should be. But what are you seeing and why does the board, can we support or what's the next step?
I mean, if you notice, we've from just even in this school year, we've gone from the 59th percentile to the 70th percentile. And we've moved almost everyone out of needs support. As far as what do I need from the board, I think we're gonna need to be strategic with our funding allocations. You know, you need people and resources to teach kids, and math is clearly from the data is our next step. But I don't currently have the staff to support a math intervention the way that I've done a reading intervention. And we also need to think about that to make it work this year, we had to reduce the number of high school classes we offered, and we had to reduce the number of AP offerings to have enough staff to offer these lower grade interventions. And whereas that was a sacrifice I was willing to make in the short term, I need to replace those high school classes and AP courses. Otherwise, we're going to end up doing our high school students a disservice. So, allocating funding towards staffing, and then we're gonna have to put some money into some math intervention resources, just like we did with reading. So, we have a lot of difficult decisions to make in the next couple of months, but I'm hoping that we can guide those decisions in a way that will be the most impactful to get our students who need the most help closer to grade level.
At what point are we looking at curriculum for, you're talking about they actually have to be in class, they're gonna miss class if you're pulling them out all the time. It seems to be there's a big need for remediating. At what point are we looking at like, maybe we need to review what kinds of like resources we already have, or so that, they're getting all that during the class time.
Right. I think you have to think about it. It's difficult to remediate when you're teaching on grade level, right? And if you're going to remediate during the class period, somebody loses out, right? Because you're no longer doing grade level, you're doing remediation. Ideally you want your instruction to hit your students who need extra help, but then also hit your students who are above grade level and need that challenge, right? I think that I'm not certain that curriculum's necessarily the issue, because the standards are the curriculum, right? The resources are what we use to teach the standards. But we haven't purchased standalone curriculum that is just driven by a book. The lessons are driven by the standards. I don't know if we need to. I don't believe that we need to look at changing curriculum, because we're looking at a deficit when we come in, right? It's not, at least according to the data, almost none of our students fall while they're in junior high and high school, right? They come in at step levels, and then we do our best to move them all to that, at least on grade level. We will be as a district looking at a math adoption in 27-28. And Dawn and I have already started the process of meeting with vendors and trying to find, it's not often that you've got a vendor that sells both elementary and middle school curriculum. So we're trying to find ones that mesh. We're really looking to current methodology math is that you teach concept, procedure, and application. And we're really trying to make sure that we find corresponding curriculum that will have that same approach. You don't want to have a conceptual math model that comes out of elementary school, and then you can come into middle school and high school and have just an application model like a lot of us grew up with.
It's interesting. I was talking to an individual today about, when are we, and I've looked into this too, about when are we going to come up with a science of math similar to the science of reading program, or a conversation that came up nationally, and it'd be exciting to see development. They were talking that it's in the works, but how many years it'll take to come up with something similar.
There is a push in the legislature now to start looking at, does there need to be a maths act the corresponding, and the thing about nobody does math intervention great because there isn't a standalone program you can just buy and do it, right? And I think that a lot of that's because when Achieve the Core popped out in the 2011, 12, 13, we really started changing the way that we did math going into a concept, procedure, and application versus just application. And I think, or everybody gets versus procedure, but to do it well, I think we have to have, we've got to get that math and number sense in the elementary school and then build on that when we get to the middle school and high school. But we have to have a curriculum that is aligned. Even if it's not the same.
Diagnostic. There's no diagnostic tool right now in mathematics to determine where the student's weakness falls. We often fall back to arithmetic, but arithmetic is what the issue is. Everybody's got to calculate. If it's bigger than that, and that's harder to.
We have started using, there's a group that put out, when Achieve the Core was the big thing. They put out the coherence maps, and it's a website essentially where you can pick any math standard and then find what a student can't do yet, and then go backwards through the standards until you find the standard that they didn't complete. And then that way you're not just reteaching everything, you're targeting what you reteach. And we've been doing some look at Achieve the Core, especially with our struggling mathematicians, to try to figure out where those gaps are. So rather than reteaching them all of fourth grade math, we're picking out the pieces that we believe, based upon the maps, are their next step.
Thank you. Lonnie, any questions? Okay. Nope.
I do have one more.
Okay.
Maybe you could explain to us just like the boy and the moy, maybe you can explain.
Oh, beginning of year,
Beginning.
of year and middle of year.
Or fall.
Yep.
FBM.
Yeah, so the fall benchmark and the
Benchmark.
the winter.
Winter,
benchmark.
okay.
Yep.
And then I know you said that there was like growth and nobody was needing support, but am I looking at that wrong? Cause I was actually seeing that from 7th grade to 9th grade, if you just look at the numbers, a lot of them just stayed the same.
Some did,
So, like,
but nobody's below the 20th percentile.
So that's the red that's not on the list.
Yep.
Okay, so nobody was
below the
ever
20th.
under, okay. When I was looking at it, I was just.
Well,
looking-
here's where it gets wonky, is that MAPS does not incorporate,
Okay, sorry.
they put
Different.
0 to 40.
Yeah.
But then when you look at AK Star and AK Science Assessment, they have a 0 to 20, and then they have a 20 to 40, right?
Gotcha.
So you can't see it in the graph, but I can see it because I've got the raw numbers. There are no students who are currently in the 20th percentile.
Gotcha. Okay. When I was just looking at the numbers, like that's how,
Yeah.
because I didn't know how those like percentiles were working out. It did kind of look like when you started at 7th to 9th, we kind of maintained on the lower 2 bars and the higher 2 bars. So like in ELA 8,
ELA 8.
or no, sorry, ELA 9, but like in 7th and 8 were need support and approaching, and 14 were proficient and advanced. And
Right.
then it was 10 and 12. So kind of like 2 went down,
Right.
which is, we're talking about growth, we're talking about long-term. But I was just looking at the numbers there, and even in the 9th grade math, it was in 7th grade, they were 11 and 10, and then 11 and 11. So I wasn't seeing the same kind of growth that I wasn't seeing that in.
Right.
So that's what
You also have to look though at the percentile. So like, you look at for the 9th grade ELA data, you see that they started out the year in the 62nd percentile, and they've moved in the 71st percentile. Now certainly that doesn't mean that every student has moved to that percentile, but as a group, they're achieving higher than they achieved in the, and you can have growth without a change in achievement.
because it's a new year and a new.
Right, and this is all achievement, this is not growth, right? This just shows where are they performing compared to national peers. Yeah.
So I want to publicly acknowledge that I have a grandson, and he may not always get the grades that he should. But Lance made himself available after school, before school, Fridays, and worked with my grandson. And so did your math department and other people. And he got very good grades. And besides being proud of his grades, his self-esteem really is shining.
That's great.
So I thank your staff for that.
Everyone, the way that we build a flexible model allows it so that every kid can get what they need. And that doesn't mean that every kid's gonna have the same growth or gonna have the same achievement as other kids. But I think generally we see an upward tick in how our students are doing and what their achievement and growth looks like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Food service, the reports in our packet. Any questions for Alex on food service?
I just hope Sandy doesn't get stuck in Alaska. She can come back.
She is back.
Okay.
Not exactly on schedule, but she is
I
back.
forget.
I was wondering about the cinnamon rolls.
She had a great, I'll just share with you briefly, going off of her report, she had a great and wonderful visit out in Alaska, and I think on lots of levels, you know, she hadn't ever been there before, so it was something new and exciting to look forward to. And probably flying on smaller planes wasn't necessarily her cup of tea, but she made it. And then just working with the staff there who she has been supporting via Zoom or teleconference. And she definitely had some noticeable things like, oh, like you should really be doing this. And they were open and receptive to her feedback and kind of her observations. And making cinnamon rolls wasn't quite as hard as what they thought it would be. So hearing from Kim Hanish, the superintendent there, I think cinnamon rolls has made it to the menu on a weekly basis even. So they were well appreciative of her time, and you know, we thank Sandy for going above and beyond as she normally does.
Do we get a royalty for those cinnamon rolls every time they're made? That's what I'm curious about. As long as you didn't show them the, what was it, bread pudding made from cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
That was something else.
All right, thank you. Technology, Mr. Fastenal.
Good evening. The distribution of the Chromebooks is coming along nicely. The elementary ones all got swapped out with the new devices over break, and the 8th grade is ready to distribute next week. There is a contract for approval later. Should we talk about that?
You can
Later. Okay. So we have our E-rate next 3-year contract up for approval. It's gone through the review process and was selected out of the 2 applications we got. So we'll be continuing service with CTC. We have a slightly lower bill and a decent jump in connectivity speed, which is always a nice combination.
Wow, that doesn't happen, does it?
It's technology is weird in some ways. Sometimes it goes down, unless you're talking about hardware lately, and then it goes up pretty quickly.
Were you able to attend the ASCII meeting?
No,
Oh,
no, we had enough interest from the teachers that I felt it was better to send them.
well, that's nice of you.
I was on the board for quite a while, so I went for 20 some odd years in a row.
But you missed the AI conversation.
I actually just took a class on the staff development network, and it was pretty interesting. I'm sure everything I learned a few months ago is now out of date.
You know, it's interesting, I don't know if I've been to you, I think I've mentioned to Alex, but the Missouri School Board Association has quite a lot of resources and information on AI. For some reason or other, I sit on a monthly meeting with those guys, and but their website has got a lot of different resources on AI. It's kind of interesting if you're bored someday.
Any other questions, comments? Nope, thank you, sir. Thank you. Maintenance.
Anything to add this month? Excuse me. But if you have any questions,
How many folks took your CPR class? Really appreciate that you do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's always an opportunity, but sometimes there might not be as much draw as you anticipate, but how many folks were
I
able
think
to?
we ended up with 14 or 15.
Hmm.
We had kind of a pretty slow day on Saturday, but we had decent numbers on that Friday and on Sunday, so
Nice, excellent.
it was worth it. It was worth it enough for those that chose to go, so. Yeah, I got good feedback that they enjoyed the instructor and so, yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks for doing that.
Mhm.
So if you go out to 2 out of 3 classes, do they have to attend all 3 to get?
No, so it's just, so it was 3 sessions, so you
Oh.
can pick which date you wanted based on what schedule worked. And so we had it opened up for a total of, we could have accommodated, their optimal class size was 9. So it was about 27 to 30 that we could have accommodated. Of that, we've filled about half the slots. I did open it up to some of the CTC employees came and they took advantage of the class as well and helped us boost some of our numbers. The people that put the grant up to pay for the class like to, if they're gonna offer a grant, they want to see as many people as possible get educated in the class. So we were able to meet that threshold for them. So that was good. But yeah,
Is American Red Cross certification?
yes, I think it's American Heart Association is what it is.
I was really surprised when at our last meeting, we talked about the CPR and that it's not required for our employees. So I was really glad to see that we provided that opportunity for training. And that you provide that you also open it up for the community. I think that that's really good. We might even consider, if we have those opportunities again, opening those up for specific communities or businesses or community members that otherwise wouldn't have CPR training, like CEC and CTC. That's kind of a requirement for the job, so they're able and quite frequently have connections there, but there might be other, like public type of public type of businesses that just don't normally do that kind of thing. And I will share like personal experience that my husband had when he was working in Anchorage just last week or 2 weeks ago. He did CPR on someone for 9 minutes who had a heart attack at work and saved his life. But those are the situations that you're not, you want to be prepared for, and it could save a life. And so making sure that our community, we're all ready to help our neighbor. I think that's great. So there's my little PSA. Thanks.
Any other
Yeah.
questions, comments?
I did have a question, or it might be for Alex, though. I was just noticing, I really appreciate all your preventive maintenance and the maintenance that you do. I was sort of just kind of added it up a little bit, and it was like 65,000. Do we have a budget specific for maintenance and how you allocate? I'm sure it's hard to tell what's gonna break outside of everything. And was, how much did we budget for that? And I see it's like 65,000 or.
Yeah, and Chris builds a budget for the maintenance department every year based on what, and that's incorporated into the overall budget that we have. And, he looks at past years, preventative and corrective maintenance, and kind of projects out what he needs to budget, for the current year.
Gotcha.
And
How close was Chris this year? Just for fun. It's gotta be hard to figure out what's gonna break.
Yeah, and so the numbers that, you get kind of there on the packet they're just a piece of the picture in terms of what you're seeing there really is the cost of labor and parts and whatever else to address the preventive maintenance and reactive maintenance stuff. But there's other aspects of it, like all the custodial supplies that aren't tracked in there. And then the budget also has, the other personnel costs and whatnot that isn't tracked within answering work orders and stuff. And so you're seeing a piece of it.
Sure.
But in terms of the grander budget, there's a lot more pieces to that pie.
Gotcha. Yep. Excellent, thanks.
Anybody else? Thank you.
You.
Business office.
It's in the packet if you have any questions.
I was, maybe I should know this, but Aaron Brendan Flores.
Just PT or OT, sorry, occupational therapy.
Remote or local?
Remote.
Remote.
She provides the OT support services, so related to IEPs. Right, so we have students who are on IEPs that have occupational therapy needs. And primarily the instructional aides that are working with them provide those services. And then she does oversight of those services or the application of those services. So she will meet on Zoom occasionally to monitor how certain strategies with students with OT needs are meeting. And then she also meets with staff to talk about just general practices of OT needs and so forth.
So I see it's
So
the
there-
amount approved is 20,000, but the amount billed is only 2,700.
I believe we got another bill today, but I mean, it's.
So can you anticipate the whole 20,000 will not be spent?
Probably not by the end of the school year. You know, we built in some travel costs and things that weren't necessarily needed. And those, that particular contract is being paid out of the Title 6B grant, special education grant. So there's no general fund allocations for those services.
Money, okay, so money left over in those title.
Yeah, so they can
Accounts.
roll over.
Can they be used for other things too? It has to be for the occupation therapy.
For other special education related needs.
Okay.
So we have other contracts. Two of which you'll see later in the board packet. So speech and language pathology as well as school psych services. So any of the related services for special education can be booked out of the Title 6B grant. And then there's a subsection of that 6B grant called the 619 grant. So those funds can be used for special education services. They can be used for resources for special education. So a bulk of that particular grant goes toward providing payment for services for people that we don't have locally or.
And so the budget part of that is really the bottom line, bottom number, in the end of the year, you gotta. I mean, if we allocate a little more towards one and a little less towards another.
Yeah, we
get
just-
there, each other.
Yeah, we shift those funds to cover the other expenses.
Thank you. Questions, any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Look how easy that was. You'll be back.
I'll just stay.
Superintendent's report.
Right. I don't have anything particular to add to the report. I'll point out that I just at the very end of the report included, not the very, very end, but first item under other, just kind of the letters framework that staff have been working hard at the past, I think it's going on 4 years now. That we've implemented that framework. And so as new people come on board, we get that training for them or very similar training so that we're all speaking the same language as we're supporting each other in different meetings. And that infographic just shows not necessarily the complication of teaching reading, but the complexity of what it takes to teach reading and the components thereof. So I've used that graphic in the past, and I think it's a really good kind of image to take into consideration. The other piece that I included in the packet, maybe you have questions on, or maybe you don't, but it's, I've mentioned about the superintendent, transition and just kind of, I've listed some of the components that we'll be working on, that I'm putting together, as a resource packet. And then hopefully, when Kim gets on board in mid-June, pending on how you vote a little bit later, that these are some of the things that we'll be sitting down and going over pretty, intensively, as she kind of transitions into her new position.
I appreciate that, the framework there that you've set up.
I have a little bit more of a detailed working document that has more components and more subcomponents to that, but that'll kind of give you an oversight of some of what's, I've been prepping on, really the last year.
With that letters training do high school English teachers or reading teachers also do letters?
We,
Kind of that, using the same words and
Yeah.
the same things and.
yeah, we haven't necessarily had, high school level teachers taking that particular, training. Partly because even though some students at the high school level are, less than proficient readers, they have the components of reading. They just need some, additional intentional sort of instruction, certain of those components. But I would want to talk with Dawn, Principal Gonzalez, to kind of see what the application that, for a high school level teacher would be. She's gone through the training herself, and I've kind of gone through the manuals, and read them myself, but not participated kind of in the full on training. So I can't answer that entirely.
Question.
Sure.
When do we plan on posting job openings or for next year?
Yeah, so right now, for the teaching staff that have been handed their contracts statutorily, they have a 30-day window in which to sign those and get those back to me. And that 30 days is, March the 27th. So probably the following week,
Okay.
I will be able to start posting. Right now, we have, one posting online, and that's the counselor position here. So Mrs. Adams is, on a special contract, through HB 57, which is the Retire and Rehire, Act. And so we have to go, because she's in retirement status, she can't necessarily be an ongoing employee. Each year we have to post the position as a vacancy and then, look at it, meet applicants, and go through a process, really an interview process with candidates and a screening process and so forth. So that's the one position we have posted right now. But otherwise,
Yeah, I thought that with some of the other school districts making budget decisions and Cordova needing to have teachers, that it might just be the time to make sure and advertise, and they might have more.
yeah, for sure.
there.
For sure. And that's, I think maybe since my time here, like when first year, I was surprised to see that we were offering or making contract recommendations in April. May, that seemed like a little bit late for me because other districts, were kind of jumping the gun and getting those out earlier. So the board was agreeable to, doing the approvals or the recommendations at that February meeting. And, I've assured the board that, evaluations have been done, and these are the people that I'm recommending for reemployment. And so it's worked out really well for us during that time.
Any other questions for Burnett? Okay, moving on to financials.
Questions?
Oh, I appreciate putting in that, what we, as far as the board budget anyway, putting the year to date so far, what we've expended on that particular item. Oh, and that Alaska education update, I see it's one of the other, it was listed in there, but Shauna's, sort of retired. Her fingers, I guess she can't type as well anymore, but Shauna Crondell did the Alaska education update, which is really helpful actually, and keeping on top of the legislature. It isn't happening anymore.
But it's not, being required of it.
She's not doing it anymore.
Yeah, she didn't do it. Yeah, I know. She was really on top of things. She didn't do it this year. She sort of started out did we pay this year?
No, we haven't paid this year.
Right, cause she kind of started out a little bit and put a couple blurbs out, but then was backed away.
I just have a question, and it might just be a little research project later on that, on the capital projects funds. Like I've just been noticing that, we don't have a lot of activity going on there. We have a huge list, but some of them are like 10,000 here, 15,000 here. I'm just wondering at what, like, is there a point for us to be able to like kind of use it and move on some of these? Like I'm not trying to spend money we don't have, but we do need to be spending these funds and not just hoarding a lot of cash in capital projects. And some of them are like extremely specific. So I don't know if there's a way for us to maybe reallocate and say, okay, these funds haven't been touched in like 10 years. Let's recategorize even into 3 maybe more broad buckets. Anyway, that's just a question that I think might make it more manageable for everybody, and then actually make this capital project and capital budget something that we can start benefiting and using. So that's my question, concern in the box.
You bring any like reason or like history or anything with you, or?
I mean, if we know, well, I guess it's a question that I don't know if somebody knows the answer to that. If we could find the answer, then we could maybe do it. But the answer could be no as well. And you're doing budgeting and everything. So, but I think that is something that would help. Or even if it's just, let's finish up some of these. I don't know. There's one that's literally just future capital projects, and then ones that are literally future capital projects. So I almost wonder if we even need, I don't know what the state requires for this. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. I took some notes down here, and like for the CHS storage project, for example, we initially allocated 20,000 for that. So we recently got a quote to demo the old building out here, which would be kind of part of the storage project, and that came in at about $15,000 to demo it, and then there's a dump fee, right, transportation and a dump fee out there. So some of these that might be identified, and to your point about perhaps consolidating somewhere we can to have a little bit more revenue to do some of the projects, I think is worth taking a look at.
Yeah, like let's not do a project that we don't need to and sacrifice one that we do just because of administrative kind of stuff.
What's 5 gallons of diesel cost, Alex? Sorry.
The $85 these days.
Well, I mean, versus demoing that.
Right. You got a couple hard hats, Pete, if you want to start running your head into them to help reduce the cost.
Right.
All right, no more questions. We will move on to new unfinished business. So information items are not discussed, just simply in the packet for informational purposes. I learned that last week. So new business, I need a motion on E13.
Page 137.
Thank you.
I move to approve E1330, use of school facilities policy committee revision recommendation first read as presented in the board packet.
All second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion?
So this is one that came before the committee and we discussed kind of revising some of the language that's in it based on our experiences with people using or requesting to use the facility. And then we took a look at the fee schedule as well. And there's not really direct comparisons when you look at even gym use or kitchen use or just space use in general. But from what we could find in our research, the proposed changes seem to be within the scope of kind of what other facilities in town are renting for. And I don't know if I made a note or made mention of this particular exhibit was adopted in 2005 and then last revised in 2011. So since 2011, there haven't been any increases to facility use costs, even though our costs have gone up certainly since that time. So this is the recommendation from the policy committee. First read.
Category 1, I'm assuming is, no, it says right here. Anything that involves youth or about staff usage, is that category 1 also?
It would be category 2.
So staff would
Community groups.
pay a fee for using the gym or. So, I'm sorry, anybody have questions? I had a question, I don't know if this is appropriate at this time, but I think we received an email of somebody who's frustrated about how the gym was left after a renter recently.
Yeah,
And did that, I don't need to know anything more than, did that renter fill out a contract and so did they end up having to pay for some cleaning fees or?
We haven't ascertained who that person is or was at this point in time.
Okay,
We're still looking into it.
okay, that's fine. And my question wasn't, had nothing to do with who or that kind of thing, it had to do with, is this document already in process with renters?
Yeah, I mean, we currently have an exhibit, right?
Yeah.
This in place, but just kind of fine tuning and adding some additional language there.
Sure.
Just to be upfront with people when they do request to use the facility.
Okay, thank you.
And this won't be in place until it goes through 2 reads.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I just had one on the category 2, like category usage, and was like state and federal government groups are listed in category 2, and I thought maybe that might be like a legacy type thing. But I think that maybe for state and federal, that when they have to do things in our schools, they just have to do them, and so giving them like a discount, competing against maybe other locations that they would do things. Maybe they're more appropriately in category 3. I don't know. A lot of them have budgets already that they're gonna do it anyway, and so I mean, I can see the local government, it's the same people, the same thing, but once you get to the state and federal level, I'm not as generous, I guess, in them using our facilities as a discounted rate, so.
Yeah, it's something to maybe consider and explore a little bit. So we have some of our other policies, talk about interagency agreements and so forth and doing things with other government associated agencies, but it'd be worth us looking at or checking into and can make.
And it's really not that much more either,
Right.
so.
Thanks.
Any other discussion points? In that case, we'll call vote, please.
Malone Toll,
Yes.
Kate Trudeau,
Yes.
Hugh Hefner,
Yes.
Emma Merritt,
Yes.
Hank Crudoff.
Yes. Need a motion for the extracurricular activities.
Move to approve potential extracurricular activities for the 26-27 school year as presented in the board packet.
I'll second.
The move second discussion.
So one of the elements of the teachers negotiated agreement is that we present a list of potential activities for the following year, so as we develop the budget, you know, we would anticipate having these particular coaches and advisors and so forth. And we are meeting the approval of this, the presentation of this, we're meeting our obligation to the negotiated agreement as well.
But it is up to you which ones we do and don't sell, right?
Right.
And then you on the level. Like depending on how many hours.
These, the categories in these are in the negotiated agreement, so those dollar amounts and the positions have been negotiated to fit into those categories. Where I have a little bit of leeway is that I look at the numbers of student participants to determine whether or not it's appropriate to like add an assist, even though assistant coaches aren't named in the agreement, right? Like I have authority to add additional help as needed, and it is based on numbers.
And how many are staff, just like a rough, like 50%? How many would you say of our activities directors, activities?
When we take in, you know, this also includes class advisors, and so that's all staff. We don't have any community members as class advisors.
Maybe just coaches then.
So probably between a third and a half. I mean, I know that's a big range, but
It's changed over the years.
yeah, I think more staff in recent years have taken on some additional roles.
Is there any more questions? Thanks.
Gianni.
With me.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no.
It's been a long day.
What's that?
It's been a long day, Hank.
I bet. Okay, no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Malone Toll,
Yes.
Kate Trudeau,
Yes.
Hugh Hefner,
Yes.
Emma Merritt,
Yes.
Hank Crudoff.
Yes. Motion for the draft Cordova High School activity handbook.
I move to approve the 2026-27 draft CHS activities handbook as presented in the board packet.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
Thank you for the summary, and I'm just guessing that eligibility section is just being updated to reflect prior board decisions on the travel and the eligibility, right? Earlier in the year, we revised some things, and so maybe this is updating that to reflect that.
I think that this is, and maybe I would have probably Paul talk about it if we needed to, but right now, this provides additional timelines and clarity on how and when eligibility is determined. And so just adding this language,
Okay.
Paul and Seth feel that it more appropriately or more better, I was gonna say.
Yeah. Got it.
Good.
And again, I don't feel the need to approve things to update dates and names. I've said that before, but I'll keep saying that.
No further discussion or roll call vote, please.
Kate Trudeau,
Yes.
Emma Merritt,
Yes.
Pete Hefner.
Yes.
Lonnie Toll,
Yes.
and Hank Crudup.
Yes. Well, on item 5 now,
Four.
179,
or what page?
179.
I move to approve the 2026-2027 draft Cordova Junior Senior High Handbook as presented in the board packet.
Second.
Then move second discussion.
I appreciate the phase-in of the cell phone policy, and I've heard from many other community members that also appreciate the gradual phase-in.
I would support just going completely cell phone free at any time. So if that became necessary or the desire of the schools, I would 100% back that as well. That was one, at the last site council meeting that they had on cell phones. It was one of the larger attended meetings that we had, and it had a diverse group of parents, non-parents, community members, different ages. Why stop there was, I believe, what one parent said when they talked about what they were doing with 7th and 8th grade. I will also, cell phones is on the agenda. One of the concerns, or on this topic, one of the concerns with cell phone is the ability to take a picture of somebody, and that ability doesn't go away with this policy, but it does make it a lot harder with just doing it for the whole school. So that is a concern that this just doesn't completely address and still leaves that door.
I have an interesting perspective on that. And that the cell phones are tools, and somebody needs to teach the kids how to use them appropriately. I know they are distractions, but they are actual tools, and there's quite a bit of learning. And bans don't work since the beginning of time. I think God told Adam not to eat an apple, and how that went. So just letting kids wander off without any knowledge of cell phones is kind of an interesting aspect, based on Jonathan Haidt's book that made with his faulty analysis, meta and data analysis, and how the Commissioner of Education actually gave everybody in the legislature one of those books. Kind of raised my eyebrows.
So I'm gonna stop our discussion on this portion of the conversation, if that's appropriate, since it's really about cell phones, and we certainly can put cell phones on a future pending agenda and have discussion about that. But we're really here talking about the approval of a middle school handbook, correct? Okay. Thank you for that. Seeing no further discussion, call vote, please.
Kate Trudeau, Kate,
Is asleep.
Mute, yes.
Emma Merritt.
Yes.
Pete Hefner.
Yes.
Lonnie Toll. Yes. And Hank Crudup.
Yes. Item 5, surplus and disposal.
I move to approve the items for surplus disposal as presented in a board packet.
Second.
Then move to second discussion.
Hopefully that's straightforward enough for you, seeing the policy and the description of why we want to surplus or dispose of those things.
Do we have to actually pay for disposals in these items?
These will be recycled through NVE's recycle program later this spring, if they continue to do that. Otherwise, the next time Jason goes into town with his truck, we'll ask him to load up his truck.
I was thinking if that wasn't made. Yay. Seeing no further discussion, we'll call vote, please.
Kate Trudeau,
Yes.
Emma Merritt,
Yes.
Pete Hefner.
Yes.
Lonnie Toll.
Yes.
And Hank Crudup.
Yes. And
I move to approve entering into a 3-year contract with optional extensions of up to 2 additional years with Cordova Telecom Cooperative for an internet service at the rate of $11,187.50 per month.
Second.
The moved and seconded, discussion?
Yeah, is this, so with this 3-year contract, we're locked in at that 11,187.50 number and option to continue that same rate for 2 additional years?
We're locked in for the 3-year period, and then there likely would be a renegotiation of the terms in the contract.
Yes.
Glad we have a local provider.
So the E-rate discount then is also fixed at 10%, I mean 90%.
It can change based on what our migrant population is and our low income, so we're actively always trying to increase those numbers, but right now we're at the highest level of reimbursement, and I'll turn to Jason and ask if that will stay in place.
So we, our E-rate discount is based on free and reduced lunch rates. We utilize community eligibility, which takes our base rate, multiplies it by 1.6. So we are at a point where we are at the 90% for at least another 4 years, because the community eligibility is a 5-year cycle. Every year that we our numbers come in where we are going to be at that same rate in terms of the discount we receive or the money we receive back from USDA for the food, we will reapply to keep that 5-year cycle locked in for as long as possible. If our numbers were to drop, we would leave that 5-year agreement in place until they came back up.
90% highest that goes.
Yes.
If you did 1.6 times your free and reduced,
Yes,
so our free reduced could actually drop a bit, we'll still be at 90%.
we are right at the threshold.
Oh, what is
The
that free and
9%.
reduced currently?
So we don't do applications for free and reduced like
I know.
what we once did. So we get a direct certification from the state on a monthly basis to know who's eligible for free and reduced lunch. And then we also do couple that with the migrant population, if I'm not mistaken. And when we reach that certain threshold, then that multiplier that Jason mentioned kicks in. So we get that percentage times 1.6. That pushes us to that 90% eligibility. So we're always actively trying to, share with parents and family members on how they can be eligible for to receive migrant status. And sometimes there's, I think, we have done a better job over the years, I think, of communicating what that program is. Some people have thought that it was not for their family, or they made more than what might be considered needing help for, and that's not what the migrant education program is about, right? You can be eligible through going out and doing berry picking and other subsistence types of activities, as well as there are provisions that allow for commercial fishing to happen as well. So
our percentage is sitting,
probably like 77 to 78% with that multiplier.
Yep. We had dropped below 90% down to the 80% reimbursement for several years. And we had a pretty big push to get the word out and make sure everyone who qualified for migrant was signing up. That popped us back over. And we are currently in year 1 of the 5-year CEP community eligibility for free and reduced lunch. So we're good for at least another 4 years. And then, like I said, as long as those numbers are maintained, we'll reapply and reset that 5-year cycle.
thank you. Any other questions about that? Discussion items? If not, roll call vote, please.
Kate Trudeau,
Yes.
Dee Hefner,
Yes.
Emma Merritt,
Yes.
Maloney Toll,
Yes.
Hank Rudoff.
Yes. And
I move to approve the incoming superintendent additional workdays as presented in the board packet.
Second.
the move the seconded discussion.
Yeah, I think we have maybe it's a unique opportunity, maybe it's not, but with the incoming superintendent intending to be arriving in Cordova mid-June. That would allow for us some face-to-face time, working in the office and getting prepped for wrapping up the end of the school year and then getting ready for the start of the school year with a variety of state and federal grants that we apply for. So I think that would be, in my recommendation, my opinion, money well served for the district to be able to do that.
Your contract doesn't start July 1st or August 1st?
July 1,
July 1.
and mine will be finishing June 30. So potentially the last 10 or 12 days while she's here in town would be time that we could work together.
I appreciate that aspect of getting crossover and being able to explain the district and go through all the details. As I mentioned before, I appreciate the list that you'd created there. As you mentioned, there was more to it than that, but it's always nice to get those connections, and it's easier done in person rather than potentially Kim calling Alex when he's hammering away at the pickleball court. But that ability to transition the knowledge is very helpful in maintaining a system.
How did you come up with 12 days?
She mentioned to me her potential arrival based depending on what the ferry schedule would be. And so we just kind of landed on that. If she were arriving on the 8th or 9th, depending on when the ferry schedule would be, give her a few days to settle in and then kind of start that, and just counting out the days until the end of the school year from kind of that Monday or Thursday or whatever that would be.
Well,
I guess, so. Yeah, so figuring out the dates based on time, and you feel like. The amount of days then makes sense with what you've come up with. That you need to cover.
Yeah, I think, just that brief outline that I had presented, there are 12 or 13 or 14 elements to it. Again, my working copy is a little bit more detailed than that. I mean, you could probably spend a couple of days on each of those areas to kind of go over, but I feel that that's adequate time, and it's a good amount of time to be able to sit and talk. And she'll be able to see the food service program in action in the summer. She'll be able to see the summer school program that we'll have in session during that time. I'll have a chance to take her around town and meet city officials and other key people in the community, businesses and so forth.
And I guess I've seen other transitions that weren't so smooth at times. And this would be very helpful, like Rich Carlson coming in and, and then, the various different transitions that we've seen.
it's true.
Yeah, I felt like 12 days kind of felt a little bit long to me when I looked at the list. And also considering that we have a experienced superintendent coming in, and we do have a rather we have a well-staffed administrative department as well. So I was, when we were hiring, I do wish we could have had a little bit of this overlap on our radar. I had thought about it during some of the process, but that wasn't part of the hiring, and there might have been some other things that the board would have considered in that regard. So I'm a little bit bummed that this is coming now as that this is the option and that's what we kind of have to do. I would expect that it would take less than 12 days, and that's just my own personal opinion. On that one, I am looking forward to our superintendent making her own connections and also a fresh set of eyes as well on and on her experience and to come in, and I think that she's very, very capable and professional. So I have a lot of confidence in her abilities. And that's by no means to say I don't want a smooth transition. Absolutely want a smooth transition. But just the length of time is it's too long for me. And then I wish we could have talked about this more when we were discussing contracts and other type of options. But thank you for bringing it up, and it is an opportunity that I'm sure not a lot of other organizations have.
Thank you. My only, I think it's a great idea. I love the idea of doing some transition. I think that will help her a lot. My only concern was, and I shared with you, is that I hope there's opportunity for her to take some time off before she jumps into a brand new school year, July 1st. Because she's gonna be transitioning from her current job, she's gonna be taking a ferry, she's gonna land, and within a couple of days, she's gonna spend the next, 12 of 16 days working with you, and hope she's not tired by the time she starts.
Yeah.
So I kind of in what Em said too, I thought 12 was maybe a little long. But
I would,
you and we discussed 10 and I felt comfortable with 10.
Yeah. Well, I would offer that the language says up to 12 days, and if the board wants to revise that and set a different a fixed number of days, then you certainly have that within your purview to do. As you heard earlier in the financial presentation and our budget development, we will have adequate funds in our fund balance to be able to pay, upwards of $6,000 for that amount of time. So I'm not sure that, and I'm not suggesting that anybody's saying that finances are a concern, but time maybe more so is, but when you're the special education director and the curriculum director and the federal programs director and the HR director and the superintendent, sometimes there's not enough time in the day to get through those in a week. And I think helping somebody to prep for kind of the scope and role could be important.
Sure.
But again, to Emma's point of, Kim being a seasoned superintendent and professional, she knows what she's getting into in a small district.
Okay.
So in your conversation with Kim, when you were talking about her starting and you leaving and how there was this overlap, did 12 days seem like desirable to her? Like was like the right amount of time for her?
Yeah, she and I talked about that, and she actually proposed her availability being around that, landing around the 11th or so of June, and then within a couple of days, kind of getting into the office and starting to get acquainted with people. Seemed to be sort of that mutual conversation that we had.
So this seems to be what feels comfortable to her. Sounds great.
No further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kate Trudeau,
Yes.
Pete Hefner,
Yes.
Emma Merritt,
Yeah.
Lonnie Toll,
Yes.
and Hank Crudup.
Yes. Sped services, some sped services.
I move to approve the 26-27 Summit Sped Services draft contract as presented in the board packet.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Discussion.
So this is with Camille Hill, who we've been contracting for school psychology services, at least for the length of my time here, and maybe even a little before that. And, it's a service that we don't have locally. It's a service that we need to provide, and here's what we're looking at for next year.
So we don't have this service locally available at our clinic.
Not for school
Not
psychologists.
just.
$6,000 to $8,000 for initial evaluations would mean anticipated 10 new evaluations. Is that pretty common for our school district to have 10 evaluations a year?
Yes.
2 or 3 kids that are pre-K and then a
Yeah.
few others?
Usually we have anywhere from 4 to 6 pre-K aged kids, 3 to 5 or 3 to school year age. And then throughout the year, there's a peppering of 1 or 2, maybe 3 students that get referred for special services that need to be attended to by a school psychologist initially. And
So that's not a fixed amount, then that's basically on how many, I mean, if next year there were more kids, then there'd be more, and if there were less, there'd be less.
And that those evaluations, the dollar range that I put on the left side of kind of the rate schedule, that $600 to $800 would be per evaluation, and that's far less than what the industry, I don't want to say standard, right? Rates can be different, but there are some school psychologists that are charging double those rates.
Those are all the ones that are private contracts.
Mm.
Yeah. It's a good profession. And anybody, anything to add to that? If not, roll call vote, please.
Kate Trudeau,
Yes.
Pete Hefner,
Yes.
Emma Merritt,
Yes.
Lonnie Cole.
Yes.
And Hank Greenhoff.
Yes. Tiny I.
I move to approve the 2026-2027 Tiny Eye Services Speech Language Pathology draft contract as presented in the board packet.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion.
Yeah, so this is another contract for speech language pathology services that we don't have locally. We do have a staff member that we help to support getting a SLP, speech language pathology assistant certificate. So our staff member primarily works with students on a day-to-day basis with the support services coming from Tiny Eye to monitor the interactions and the strategies and the services that are being provided by our staff, as well as being able to do evaluations. Our staff member is not certified or qualified to do evaluations, so that's where Tiny Eye comes in to play, and they primarily do that. Well, they extensively do that remotely, and it's been working out with us for the past 6 years or so.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Kate Trudeau,
Yes.
Pete Hefner,
Yes.
Emma Merritt,
Yes.
Lonnie Cole,
Yes.
and Hank Greenhoff.
Yes. That takes us to pending agenda. We have 2 items on pending agenda, review district goals and scholarship fund. Is there anything else that needs to be added? This time? So it's our understanding that we'll get more detail on the data from the elementary school. At our next meeting, okay, doesn't have to be on pending agenda then. Audience comments. Where'd the place out?
Yeah, you did.
I didn't. All right, board comments. Who would like to start? Kate.
Welcome, Milani. We're glad that you're here to join us. I'm pleased to see the success at both Mount Eccles and the high school with their testing, especially the improvement for the way below benchmark and the below benchmark kids as a result of tutoring. So way to go, Mount Eccles.
Tim?
Welcome, Milani. So great to have you here at the. And yeah, I want to highlight the student achievement, and it is still difficult for me to determine what success looks like on those test scores because I'm looking at the number of students, I'm seeing their faces, and then, you know, who's on the bubble, who's not on the bubble, what is the growth, or is it not the growth? That is just something that I'm glad that we're having good conversations with our administration, but again, I would like to see a vision there and not just one grade, one subject, third grade reading, or even ninth grade proficiency. I would love it if as a board, we were kind of we can look at all those things and say, well, you know, yeah, that's what the data is saying. And so this is what we're doing. I'm really looking forward to working together at our board when we talk about our board goals, but then also that conversation continuing happening with the new superintendent and with the principals as it already has, and making us feel like we're working together on that and supporting each other in that. I don't believe we're there yet, but that's why we keep having these meetings and we're gonna so thank you everybody for all your work there and great job, kids.
All right.
Thanks so much for welcoming me. I feel like I have so much to learn, but I'm excited to be able to contribute more as I learn more.
It's a fire hose. No rush, it's a process also. Yeah, welcome, Melanie. Really tickled that you're here. Yeah, just appreciate all the work that schools are doing. Appreciate Jason. Oh, he snuck out all of his work on the E-rate grants and everything that goes on in the technology world. Appreciate that the staff was able to attend ASTI and everything that's moving forward.
Thank you. I too want to welcome you. I'm really glad you came and joined us. And you know, thank you for having confidence in me to put me into the president's position. I feel honored by that. And with that, I will take a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Oh, second. Did you want a second, Melanie?
Second.
Yeah. So there you go. It's the first one.
Yeah. No discussion on an adjournment, so roll call vote.
Kate Trudeau,
Yes.
Pete Hefner,
Yes.
Emma Merrick,
Yes.
Milani Tool,
Yes.
Pete Crouton.
Yes. We are adjourned. You keep this. Next time.
Unless you want to.